up, world? Welcome to another amazing episode of Typical Girl Talk. What is going on? Hey!
Hello, ladies. Hello. Things are good. As you see, I'm not in my normal location, but all is well.
Good.
Oh, you know what, Sheba? Can you raise your camera a little bit more?
I'm going to lower myself.
Oh, there we go. Awesome. Awesome.
How's it going?
Right? Things are good. So for those of you who are new to our show, where you've been, but we welcome you, and we will introduce ourselves in alphabetical order because that's how we do things here, starting with...
Hello, my name is Carcia Campbell. I am a social media personality. I am a tech professional and a mindset advocate. And I just talk too much, and that's why I'm here. So, and I'm also a musician with this young lady over here who is going to introduce herself, but we are a girl group. So go ahead, Telly.
Yes, I'm the other half of that girl group. My name is Chantel Telly. I am also a musician. I run an online store. I'm a physical wellness, fitness advocate. I'm multifaceted. I have my hands.
Girl, tell them again.
I'm multifaceted.
Tell them again. I am Toshiba, and I make up this trio. I'm just not part of the singing group because Lord knows I don't sing.
Stop it, girl. Stop it right now.
So I am an author. I'm a consultant. I am a mother. I am an advocate for us as Black women and Black people. And, we came up with this show because we wanted to, first of all, we do love to talk. That's actually
Yes, we love to talk. We do.
That's why we have the show, but we wanted to discuss issues that were important in our community. And of course, the one that we will be discussing today is a very big one. And for those of you who are just tuning in, we are from Canada and we do live in Toronto. I am currently actually in Vancouver, Canada on the West Coast, but we do live in Canada. We have Jamaican backgrounds and all of those things are great about us. But, people always, question why as Canadians we're concerned about what happens in the U.S. Because everything that happens in the U.S. affects Canada. Because for those of you who don't realize, we share a border.
We're right next door.
We share a border, girl.
We're part of that sandwich.
We share a border. And we share a border that is currently closed because the current United States president has mishandled this pandemic. And therefore, as people who live in Canada, who work in the U.S., because that happens. I've got family in the U.S. I've got things in the U.S. I cannot do because the borders are closed. Why are the borders closed, lady?
COVID. And thanks to their commander-in-chief, it looks like it's going to be closed for a long time, depending on this election, because he thinks he's doing a great job. He claims that he would do it all over again. He sees nothing wrong with how he's handling this. People even on CNN, people are even saying if he could even show even a slither of a tenth of empathy, even a word, one half of a word, to show some kind of, I'm so sorry. Nothing. I don't even think he knows how to say the word sorry. He's forgot it.
What I can say, what I can say about this situation, just to share with people too, why the rest of the world would care about what happens Tuesday. It has a lot to do with that COVID-19 border close and the slowdown of business. A lot of people have lost, and I can talk about rich people, middle class, and then people that are poor or going through a rough situation right now. Every single level of haves and have-nots have lost opportunities or actual dollars simply because the pandemic cannot be controlled. It cannot be contained. I know that People have boasted of 6-figure deals that they have lost, deals that they thought were going to take them through 2020. And now these deals are not going to happen.
They're nowhere in sight.
A lot of people have lost their jobs because they can't continue to work or run their business through COVID-19. We've seen established businesses, established restaurants close down simply because the tourism is down.
Yep.
So definitely everything that takes place in the US affects Canada, and things that happen in Canada affect the US.
Absolutely.
All you have to do is open up the Globe and Mail, the Toronto Star, or the New York Times, turn the news on, and you'll see the effects of what's happening right now.
It's chaotic.
And it's astounding. And I think, and that doesn't even capture it, right? It's, but I'm going to use that word. It is astounding to me that currently in his rallies, the president is, and I'm trying to get the right word because I think I'm so upset for the frontline healthcare workers right now that he is essentially accusing doctors who take an oath to save people, claiming that these doctors are fudging the numbers because they get more money to list a death as COVID. The man has gone on TV and said, COVID, 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 COVID. All we're talking about is COVID. He is jealous. Of a virus.
Yes.
He is the commander-in-chief of a nation that is considered the greatest superpower in the world. A nation who is now accounting for more than 20% of the deaths of COVID. The numbers have surpassed India in terms of daily totals, and India's population is more than 3 times that of the United States of America. And you have a man who goes on national TV trying to compete with a virus and accusing doctors and frontline workers who are putting their lives on line while we were sitting at home, the proverbial we, because not us, but while the proverbial we were sitting at home complaining that we had to be at home, you have frontline workers. There is a doctor on CNN who says she has not taken a day off since February.
Wow. Yes.
Because she's on the front line, and you have the commander-in-chief who was there claiming that these doctors who take an oath are fudging numbers to his supporters who are cheering him on.
Oh, yeah. They're clapping for him. They're cheering him on. He's driving them out into the middle of nowhere so they can hear his speech, and then he takes off in his helicopter and leaves them there stranded
in the cold.
In the cold. And they have to walk for how many hours? And half of them now have to go to the hospital.
A lot of them are in the hospital now, sick with pneumonia or COVID-19. Simply because they couldn't get to their cars and they were sitting outside in -10 weather in t-shirts.
Because they have so much faith in Agent Orange.
Thank you. So, okay. So, you know, our question that we want to tackle, and for those who tune in or who watch this later, we really want to hear your thoughts about what a world with Donald Trump for 4 more years will look like. Because quite honestly, like I have CNN it's literally beside me. I put it on mute, I can watch it. I see the total, you know, count of votes. 66% of people have already voted.
Yes.
66% have already voted to the point
that's a lot.
they voted for since, you know what I'm saying, since 2016. I mean, people hated Hillary, and that's why. Nobody cared for Hillary, but that's another story entirely. So we're in a space now that I don't trust the numbers. Let's be clear. I think a lot of us are suffering from PTSD. Like this is very PTSD. We saw Hillary leading in the polls. We saw Hillary, you know, win the popular vote. And for anyone who, and listen, I am not a U.S. historian, but I want people to understand what happens with the electoral college votes.
Yeah.
The basis of the electoral college votes is racist. Let's just talk about this. The reason certain states have more electoral college votes than others, it has nothing to do with size.
No.
It has to do with slavery.
That's it.
Okay?
Yeah.
Slavery was the basis of the electoral college.
Yep.
And certain states got more votes because they had more slaves than free people.
Yep.
And therefore, they had to account for the fact that they did not have enough free people, and they gave them more electoral college votes. So that's just a little back in time for history. And also for those who want to applaud Abraham Lincoln like Donald Trump does, because he likes to say, I've done more for the Black community than, say, Abraham Lincoln. Well, he says that because he wants you to believe that Abraham Lincoln really freed the slaves. Let's be clear. There was a civil war.
Yeah. They needed more bodies. That's the only reason.
People to fight. And therefore, the Emancipation Proclamation was meant to free up people to go and fight a war.
Fight a war. They need more bodies. That's
for
it.
a country that didn't actually value them
up to this day.
So I just needed to put those two things in because I think sometimes people don't read, and I think reading is fundamental, people. But so to educate people, so, you know, I don't know many countries who actually have an electoral college like vote. And let's be clear, I have not looked at the voting system.
Please let us know in the comments, but I don't
think I do not know of an electoral vote method for elections in other countries.
I don't think there is.
Because in Canada, I can tell you, it's the popular vote. You get more votes to win. Ta-da!
Yeah, exactly. Very easy to understand, very easy to count, very
simple.
You know.
Right? In Jamaica, you get more votes, you win.
That's supposed to be. When you're in the homecoming queen and king in high school, it's like, well, whoever's the most popular gets it. Like, whoever gets the more of the votes for popularity is the one that's supposed to win. I don't know how the state, well, we know how the states did it, but it's just funny how they're the only country from what we know that has this system. It's like, okay, well, that's how you do it. Then what's the point of having a popular vote? What's the point of it? If it means nothing.
Right? And so when we think of a system that's entrenched in racism, right? The entire process of voting in the United States is entrenched in racism. You know, right now, voter suppression is happening. There is wars in courts about when can someone vote. There are like 20,000 ballots right now. A lady said, I want to believe it's in Minnesota or Wisconsin. One of those states is being thrown away because they didn't have a witness signature. I'm sorry, someone else needs to witness the fact that I want to vote for one candidate over the other. Again, that is actually a voter suppression thing.
Yes.
Right? That I don't need someone to validate my vote. Are you going to say, are you sure you want to vote for that person? Like, that's not even a thing, right? So, you know, the entire system of voting in the United States is racist. The whole thing is racist. And so going back to it, you know, it's for you guys, ladies, to jump in. I think there's too much PTSD from 2016 for anyone to think that Biden just has this in the bag. He does not.
No. Don't let the numbers fool you. Because we all remember what happened. Like you were saying, we all remember what happened in 2016. Half the people didn't even vote. Right. Because they were like, Hillary's got it, so we don't have to worry. We're just going to sit back and relax. Because like we said before, a lot of people weren't fans of Hillary. They wanted Bernie Sanders to be the leader of the Democratic Party. He lost to Hillary. So a lot of people from that moment didn't want to vote. And they were like, well, it doesn't even matter if I vote or not because Hillary's going to get it anyway. Little did we know.
Yeah, but if enough people have that mindset, what happens is we have a population of 60%.
That's it.
That says, I'm just not going to vote. And then their voices aren't heard.
That's it.
And then we end up with situations like we have now.
Like the current one.
And people have no one to blame, truly, but themselves. And I think more than ever, people are starting to realize that, hey, you know what? Your voice does matter. If it didn't matter, then why are certain parties going out of their way to make it difficult to vote? Why are they removing ballot boxes from certain areas? Why are they changing the hours on people?
Thank you.
Why did we almost lose the postal system to do their job?
Hello.
Why are these things happening if your vote doesn't matter?
Come through.
You have to ask yourself these questions.
Come through. Yeah, people like, yeah, you were telling me that, I don't remember what state it was in, but they had cops walking around with like Trump masks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, in Florida.
And staring down people. And they have people outside the polls that like showing their guns and having bats in their hands and looking at people and trying to intimidate them. Like,
yeah. And this is coming from a president who said to stand back and stand by.
And, you know, I think that, and another thing, you know, I was reading the Toronto Star, and the headline caught my eye, and the headline was Canada braces for a civil war, you know, next week. The timing of our border being closed, this whole thing is actually very biblical. You are wondering if God is up here with strings.
Well, it makes you wonder.
Doing this because it so happens that our border is closed, and Canada is actually now saying, it's kind of good right now that the border is closed with everything that could go down next week in the United States. And regardless of who wins, there's going to be some sort of backlash.
Retaliation.
Yes, there's going to be some movement. Either we're going to have certain people celebrating because they won, and therefore they're going to, you know, go crazy and enjoy themselves in a way that might not be, it might be violence, depending, or they lose it because they lost, and then they are enjoying themselves with violence to celebrate or to mourn
the fact
that they didn't win.
Yeah.
So, you know, we are definitely living in a time where the world is watching. The world is very curious to know, well, what are you going to do? Do you like what's going on right now? And if you like what's going on right now, what is the next thing you're going to do? We've seen a lot of people have to, in these last coming days, a lot of people have been acting the fool. You know, people have been, you know, we have, what upsets me is, you know, some people have come out and said things that don't even really make sense. You know, and I'll name 50 Cent and Lil Wayne as examples, coming out and saying things without anything sensible attached. And, you know, if you're going to vote for a certain party, that is your business.
It's your business.
But if you're going to vote for them, you have to have something to back it up as to say, I'm voting for this person because of this policy. It benefits me. It suits my value in this way. But if you're just going to show up and be like, I'm doing this, because I don't want to pay my taxes. I'm like, what?
Lil Wayne, he said he saw the plan. Everyone's saying, well, that's interesting that you saw the plan and no one else did.
Because, I mean, even
one else saw the plan.
Even white men have been asking to see that plan.
And up till now.
Donald Trump won't show it.
He claims he showed it to Lil Wayne, though.
So, he showed it to Lil Wayne with his 5 dreads.
What he needs to do is concentrate on growing his hair back.
But he didn't show it.
Concentrate on getting his hair back to a healthy place.
His
That's what he needs to
own white friends, he didn't show it to them. So how is it that he had time to show it to a celebrity, but he didn't have time to show it to his own team?
And to be clear, we're talking about the $500 billion invest into Black people, Black businesses plan that is a fallacy, because the reality is he did that a month before the election. He has had 4 years to create a plan for Black people, and I will give it to him. Again, you know, I think it was last week's show, the week before, we talked about some things that he has done, right? He's invested into HBCUs, which is great, historically Black colleges. He's worked on some of the reforms. He's done a few things. He's taken a few steps legislatively. But the reality is, legislation is a piece of paper.
And we know that Donald loves to sign his name on paper.
We do know that.
He loves his name.
That's the best part of his day. He comes down in his navy blue suit and red tie,
And
ill-fitting
sign his
suit,
name.
by the way. And then he sits down and he signs his name and he shows it to the cameras. That's his favorite thing to do.
That's his show and tell.
That's why he quickly will see Lil Wayne. He will quickly see 50 Cent. He will quickly bring in Kanye and Kim Kardashian because he knows the cameras are following them in.
That's it.
And Donald, one of the things that I read in an article that you shared with us, Toshiba, is that he is very much into himself. This is why he's jealous of Corona. He wants to know what the ratings are. Rather than working, he rather sit and watch the news all
24/7.
He watches TV to see how many times people talk about him.
Because it's all about him. His ego is
his ego's out of this world.
Insane.
And if you're a reality star,
God,
that makes perfect sense. But do we have time for a reality star in the presidency?
We've had it. That's the problem. For 4 years, we've been watching seasons 1 through 4 of Donald Trump Takes the White House.
Yep.
This is actually what we've been watching. And the repercussions on the rest of us are profound, right? You know, COVID has been profound, but we've got to go back to some of the things that we've done. This is the man who doesn't seem to understand that 545 children now cannot find their parents. This is the man who put a ban on Muslims. He banned an entire religion from coming to the country. This is a man who calls countries in Africa and parts of the Caribbean shithole countries. This is a man who put these same babies in cages. This is a man who says to Black people, we should basically shut the fuck up because we should be lucky that he's even doing anything for us, because God forbid we are, you know, in the streets and fighting for this, and he doesn't understand why protesters can run around without masks, but his people can't. He doesn't get it. And his actions, the consequences of the actions that he makes because of the post that he holds, is profound, and it impacts the rest of the world to the point where the EU does not want Americans in their country. They want to even cut some of the ties that they have with the United States of America. The impact, the Donald Trump effect, it's very interesting because we talked about that on one of our shows. It's interesting how his base just rallies around him to the point where they don't see anything that he does wrong. No. His son is on Fox News saying we're rounding the bend. I've looked at the CDC numbers and we're rounding the bend in a day. When 971 people had died.
One day.
In one day. I think even yesterday it was 90,000 people had died.
That got infected with coronavirus. And that 90,000 people, quite a few of them in a few weeks are going to die.
Yep.
And you've got the president's son, who God knows where he comes from and what job he does at this point, going on TV saying, I don't understand why we keep talking about COVID. We're rounding the bend.
Yeah, he said it's almost
rounding
nothing.
The bend.
He said that the COVID-19 deaths are almost nothing. That's what he said.
So go to the 971 families who now are unable to truly have a burial for their family members. Talk to the 200, I think it's at about 27,000 Americans who Christmas will be mourning. You understand, 227,000 may have died, but millions are affected by it. And so it is incredible to me that there is some level of ambivalence. Yes, it's exciting that, you know, people are going out there and voting, but there is just kind of this sense of, well, I guess, you know, it's okay.
Who are you voting for?
So, yeah, because
that's great, everyone's voting, but we don't know who they're really voting for.
Yeah, and I just want to say, too, you know, from watching TV, I believe, yes, it was CNN, they had went to a bowling alley, I can't remember what state.
Oh,
but they
went to North Carolina or...
One of the Carolinas.
I think it was.
And they went to a bowling alley, and literally about 85% of the people in there, mind you, and I hate to say it, but they all looked like the type of people.
Don't be ashamed to say it, it's true.
Donald Trump. I will say that.
I could
look at them and say, oh, they're going to vote Donald. But they were like, I'm voting for Donald. You know, I think he just needs more time. There was no policies as to, well, this is why. You know, there was no listing
Because
of,
he has no
this
plan.
is why I want to vote for this man. They had no argument to bring up to say, well, this is why I'm voting for him. So that disturbed me because, again, they're falling for the celebrity. They're not looking at, why are we voting for this person? And it's disturbing to me because that means, I mean, if that was just that bowling alley, if that was America, that bowling alley,
oh, he would have won. That's it.
Would be Donald.
Funny, because one man in the same thing, he's even saying how, oh, I'm voting for Trump because, you know, he's going to open up the country and have the economy bounce back. And it's just, he's going to open up the economy. We're going to bounce back. But at the flip side, it's like, you know, Wall Street, they've been having the worst numbers, I think, since the Great Depression. Like, what financial gain is anyone getting right now in the States? The States used to be this country that everyone wanted to run to because it was the #1 country since, I guess, forever. And to see this country that was boasted in, you know, alleged freedom and promises, and if you go there, you can make it anywhere. And now to see the state of the United States, it's actually like baffling and puzzling. In 4 years, what a man has done.
Here's the incredible part, and we spoke about this, and we speak about this all the time. We spoke about it on our planning call this week. You're going to open up the economy. Who's going to work it?
If everyone's dead, who's going to go? Who's going to work
They're
it?
dead and sick.
That has been my thing since I started hearing, we're just going to open up again. And I'm like, okay, fine. You're going to open up again to who? Because everyone is either dead
or in the hospital
or suffering the consequence of having COVID-19. So COVID-19, for people that might not know, it's going to be considered an underlying sickness, meaning that someone like, you know, we heard this week, Khloe Kardashian had COVID-19, and it actually was very bad for her.
It was bad.
She basically said she thought she was going to die. For the rest of her life, just like the families we're talking about here that have lost loved ones or have been taking care of people that have COVID-19,
right?
These people, for the rest of their lives, you know, on their health card, on their record, it's going to be like, oh, the reason why you can't walk a mile is because you had COVID-19. The reason why you can't smell is because you have COVID-19. The reason why you lost your leg or your arm is because of COVID-19. It's going to affect them for the rest of their lives. And to see people say that COVID is nothing, or to say we are rounding the curve.
I don't know what kind of planet his son lives on.
Why are we lying to people? I know, I understand you want to be the president real bad. I get it. But to downplay science, to downplay people that know their job, and say that they don't know what they're doing, to say that they're scum, to say that they're stupid, it's very disturbing to me, especially when you are a person that has claimed that you don't like to read and probably and never did well academically in school.
He thinks that reading is a waste of time. But we all know why he wants to be president. He wants to escape criminal charges against his backside right now, okay? The man could be locked up. He's a criminal and a rapist.
That part. All of that part. All of that part. And so
he's using the presidency to hide. And they gotta change that law.
It's crazy because he said that, right? Like I could stand in the middle of New York and shoot someone, and you know my supporters would still love me and nothing's gonna happen to me, right? And he's so right, because the people who are Trumpites or whatever he calls them, they are with this man. But the problem is when you were small-minded and you don't understand long-term impact, right? They see this and they're not recognizing the long-term impact. And the impact, even if they only want to see this, your closest ally, which is Canada, has closed borders to you. Our Prime Minister, when asked about some of your tactics, we have it in our promo video. If you haven't seen it, just go on our Instagram. Blake stood there for 22 seconds silently.
Doing every movement with his
not,
mouth.
The man said,
he didn't even know what to say. And very, very seldom does a politician not have words.
Yo.
The idea that someone who is as versed in public life as Justin Trudeau, who could not come up with words, is very telling.
Quite.
Okay, this is a man at with the G7 summit that the other leaders were talking shit about him.
They were
I've never have I heard that happen.
Whispering and pointing
and laughing.
Okay, so this is a man that is, you know, he ran on the fact that he's not a politician, and that is why a lot of people voted and are still voting for him. He's not a politician, but my dude, when you're the president, you are now a politician. Just so you know, you can't say you're not a politician, because as the president, that automatically makes you a politician. So it is what it is. But he ran on this platform of not being a politician, and people thought that he was such a great businessman. They've never read his resume, because he actually filed for bankruptcy 6 times in 18 years. And so therefore you can't be that great of a businessman if every 3 years your casinos and hotels are filing for bankruptcy. But you know what? I digress. So the impact of his presidency has affected more than his country. And the divisiveness inside his country is even affecting other parts of the world.
Yes.
Because if the focus is on the fact that the United States, which really has really not ever been united, but is so fractured right now that the rest of the world is trying to put the pieces together for them, because you've got a president who totes conspiracy theorists, and he totes lies about his own doctors. Same doctors who he said cured him because he got some injections and he's immune now and he feels better than ever. He's going around talking about the people who are there to save the lives of the citizens he claims to want to represent as a second-term president. He cares not about these people, and the impact of his presidency in 4 years has been so vast that for me, you know, even if I just think selfishly, I have a life in the United States of America that I can attend to because of Donald Trump. Even if I just spoke selfishly.
Right.
I have a sick father in the hospital because of COVID that I cannot see. I have sisters. I have a partner that's in the United States. I can't see him. Like, there are people, you guys have family. They can't come here. We can't go there.
No.
Even if you just wanted to think on just a purely self-centered realm, just that impact. As long as I have lived in Canada, I have never been in a situation. I've been in Canada for 31 years, since I was 9 years old. I cannot think of any situations where I could not willfully cross, or my family could come here until now. Because you've got a president that mishandled the virus that he knew was dangerous in January, mishandled it so badly because his concern was more about his reputation and the lives of the nation he says he wants to represent. Drops mic.
It's true. All of that and then some.
All of that.
All he cares about is himself and his reputation and how he's viewed by the world. He can give one kick about the people suffering and dying. He doesn't give a kick.
And you know what? I also want to bring up the Republican Party as a party. I feel I'm going to step into, you know, the hardcore, you know, shoes of a Republican Party person right now. And I can imagine how they're feeling right now, because they have worked very hard to have this party. And, you know, I am not a huge fan of the Bushes or Reagan. You know, I'm not out here yelling for them. However, they have worked very hard to have a reputation, to show, you know, what America means. They are a party that people can and have voted for. So, you know, I'm not going to speak that badly of them.
Mm-hmm.
But to see what Donald's views and actions have done to the reputation of this party, I believe a lot of them are actually praying that they lose.
Oh, absolutely.
So they can take the next 4 years to fix their party.
And they
because
need to.
right now
Absolutely.
It's broken.
Yeah.
You have members,
Mm-hmm.
you have the wives of hardcore Republicans publicly saying that they will be voting Democratic.
Mm-hmm.
That
Yep.
is big.
I believe John
To
McCain's
see
wife.
John McCain's
Yeah.
wife
Mm-hmm.
publicly admit that she is going to go to the other side,
And vote.
that speaks
Volumes.
volumes of what some Republicans feel.
Colin Powell. He's going to vote
Colin Powell.
Democrat.
These are people that were literally washed with the blood of Republican, you know,
The Republican
children,
goats.
and rolled in the doo-doo of the Republican
Cows.
Yeah,
Or
like,
bulls. Is that their thing? A bull?
whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
And now they're getting up and saying, yo, wash this off.
They're going to go across the other
I'm
side.
going to go join Obama and Biden and Kamala Harris over here and see what's up.
They even have signs in the States with people, with you mentioning that, saying, you know, that yes, I'm a Republican, but my mother didn't raise a damn fool. I'm voting Democrat.
So see, their party right now,
It's breaking apart.
it's breaking apart.
Because-
And even as a lot of people will remember Bush, we're still close enough to remember
Bush
you know,
Senior?
Bush Jr.
Mhm.
People made fun of him, saying he wasn't bright. But when you look at him and then
Compare.
you look at Donald, you're like, you know what? We were mean to that man. We were
Put him
mean
back
to
in
Junior.
office, if that's the case.
We were mean to him. And the party needs a reboot. And the beginning of the reboot is getting new leadership.
They should want to lose. I agree with you 1,000%. They should want to lose to rebuild their party, because right now they are the laughing stock. And America also needs to like get more parties than just 2 parties.
I think that goes for all countries.
But for all countries, we
Listen,
have more than.
I
at least we have
agree.
4. I mean, not the greatest, but at least we have
We
4
do.
or 5. I think.
We
I
do
remember now.
have 4 and sometimes maybe 5, 6.
Right,
It's just
depending
that
on
those last 2 are so small that they don't actually get on enough ballots. But
they need to open up the monopoly.
I do agree that, you know, during the debates, I would look at my TV screen, you know, and you see the 2
Right.
candidates, and you're like, yeah, we do need some changes.
There needs to be more, like more variety.
More variety, definitely. Will it change?
Maybe not.
Maybe not. Maybe it
Maybe
will.
it will.
But right now, the way how I see it is that in order to get a second term as president, you really have to show that you are on your way to doing greater things. And I don't know if Donald is displaying the advancement of the Trump administration in the way how he is presenting himself. And with that, when you think about that, when you think about, okay, you think he's funny and crazy and annoying now, girl, listen, if he wins again, the amount of confidence
His
that
ego
this man is gonna have,
is going to be out the
we are
roof.
gonna be sorry. Because he's gonna be like, oh hell, now, yeah, you thought you got Trump, now you're gonna get some Trump, and he's gonna go crazy.
Along with his Proud Boys.
He's gonna go
This
back.
is a man who idolizes dictators because he wants to be one.
Yep.
Right? And so, you know, he's basically tried to rule with an iron fist, because it was interesting. Again, I clearly watch a lot of CNN, but Anthony Scaramucci,
Mm-hmm.
who was once a really close ally of Trump's and
Yeah.
even got to the White House, what was it, 10 days, girl, ladies?
I
Like,
think it was
it was a ridiculously
Yes.
short amount of time. But Anthony Scaramucci was, you know, asked a question, and I think it was about Kellyanne Conway, or if not Kellyanne Conway, it was the press lady. And he said, you know, the question was asked, like, why would she go up there and tote this information knowing its inaccuracy? And he said, it's because Trump is the press secretary. Everybody goes out and says what Trump wants. People do not go against Trump. He demands loyalty.
Yes, he asks for
Yeah,
it.
he demands loyalty.
He's not even ashamed to ask for it, which shows us that the man was probably and still is in the mafia.
Oh yeah, girl, absolute.
Right?
Absolute.
So you have a president who rules and wants to rule like a dictator because he idolizes people like Putin and Kim Jong-un, and I'm pretty sure he probably has a picture of Hitler in his home. Like, I would not doubt it if somewhere there's a picture of Adolf Hitler, right? Because that's how he wants to rule. So the case, like you said, if he gets 4 more years, if we think we saw the best of Trump, we ain't seen nothing if this man gets like, it's like Trump 2.0 to the second power multiplied by 2 and second power that one, right? Like the fear that I actually I'm going to tell you, Tuesday night, if I see that Trump win, I will cry. Like, because and I'm going to cry. I'm gonna have a cry for the world as a whole, but I'm actually gonna have a cry for myself because I know the situation that I'm personally going to be in because of the impact on my life. Like I said, my father got COVID-19 in April. I would love to go see him, but the reality is because of the mishandling of COVID, because of Trump, the nursing home he's in is on shutdown almost 24/7 because every other day they're getting like a COVID case. And so I'm not even able to see my father. My father got COVID, had a stroke, was in a coma. He's come out of the coma. He doesn't even know. He's got 7 girls. He doesn't know who any of us is. He was perfectly fine before it happened. And so I'm here in basically November with pain in my heart. Because men that I idolized for 40, almost 41 years in my life, I can't even be by his bedside, even if he doesn't know who I am, to hold his hand and say, Daddy, I'm here. I will be okay. Do you understand? Like, so for me, it's bigger than just the fact that this man has mishandled everything. The fact that there are families that are separated and likely will be separated for potentially months or years to come is profound. The impact. And so I am one person. Think about, again, 230,019. I just looked up at CNN. That's the number. Think about me multiplied of how people are feeling. And this is just a person whose father is still alive. So the people who have died are suffering, and the people who have been adversely impacted are suffering. And I'm telling you, I personally, like, I'm sitting here thinking about it and I want to cry because I personally cannot handle, I'm separated from my entire family. I have a whole lifeline on that other side that, I can get on a plane and go see them, but it's not like, to see my father through a window in a hospital?
Yeah, that's
horrible. No, it shouldn't be that way.
And you know what? Personal ties to this as well, Toshiba. As you know, we lost a cousin to COVID-19, and it's sad because no one. A big family in England, big family in the US, and no one could
go. He died alone.
Go and kiss him on the forehead and be like, I'm so sorry. No one could go and even watch him.
His wife didn't do anything.
Breath. Everyone just had to sit at home and wait for a call. And this poor man died all alone in some room by himself. And maybe the last view of humanity he saw was a nurse,
or a doctor
in a garbage bag. That was the last view of the world that he had. And
so many family members that have lost their loved ones, the rate is so bad that they don't even have time to bury people. They're just cremating them.
Yeah, they're not even having.
They don't have time because, like, what, we have to keep this train going, I guess. So they're just slapping them out and giving families bags. Here's your loved one,
and that's
in a bag.
That was New York.
In a bag.
Yeah, and that was New York, where the hospital, and it was at the time when the hospitals were so so messed up that people were in the hallway.
Even I think in Utah, that's how it is right now. They're turning people
towels,
away.
Yeah, on towels and linens on the floor.
Yeah.
So, you know, Tell, you just hit the nail on the head for me with the idea that we've got hospitals turning people away,
turning people
basically
away.
saying, come back when you can't breathe.
Right.
That's what they're saying, because they don't have the capacity. Like, basically, come back when you're ready for a ventilator. And we have a president who says he contracted COVID, which I question, but let's just say he had it.
Okay.
It was announced on Friday morning he had it. He was on a plane that afternoon getting some kind of injections, coming out saying, I'm cured, with no care for the people. Oh, I'm sorry. 100% of the nation doesn't have that type of access. I don't actually think even Jeff Bezos with his
not even rich people.
I doubt it.
Do you know how many rich people said they couldn't even get into a hospital?
Much more.
Rich people had to wait 7-10 days for their test to come back. And when it came back positive and they're coughing a lung up, they tried to get into the hospital.
And they couldn't.
And not even money could get them into a local hospital.
Nothing. But he magically got in and magically got this antidote, and he could magically just walk out of the hospital. He was able to drive around the block and wave to his minions.
Listen, and I will say it here, and I'll continue to say it. You know, people can comment later and say that, girl, don't say that. But I actually, and I will say it, I do not believe Donald Trump had COVID-19.
He didn't.
He did not have COVID.
He didn't have no COVID.
He was trying to create this so that he could get his vaccine before November 3rd, and Johnson & Johnson was like, skirts, we are not ready.
Publicity stuff.
The Prime Minister of the UK, the Prime Minister, Boris, had to quarantine he was gone for about 30 days. And he is the Prime Minister of a country that has a queen. The Prince of England, Prince Charles, had to quarantine for days.
They had COVID.
These are people that had COVID-19 and they couldn't do their job. They were sick.
But he magically got COVID and was able to walk out in 3 days.
I am not going to sit here and be like, what? You know, the man didn't have it. He did it for a specific reason. The same reason why he invited 50 Cent and Lil Wayne to the White House. It's the same thing.
It's called publicity.
Publicity, that's what he's good at. He's a reality star.
Propaganda, everybody.
That's what he's all about.
Go ahead and go to the history books and go read about Adolf Hitler. He was very much about the show.
About
the showman. And Donald Trump, I'll do one of his favorite things, is a showman.
He got out of a helicopter to nobody
with COVID.
Walked up the stairs.
He ran up the stairs, girl.
Right? Sorry, girl. He ran up the stairs. Took his mask off.
Got the mask. Told the camera, come up here. Take my
waved
photo.
to nobody. Then went back inside and then asked to go to retape that because it wasn't good enough.
Wasn't right.
This is the president that people want to put, again, what is considered the greatest superpower in the, like, this man has nuke codes, people. Nuke codes. Now, he's not the only one with them, but he got them.
But he has
and the way he rules, because apparently people don't know how to say no to him, the way he rules, he'll get other people's new codes and be dropping bombs all over the place. Like, he is a crazy person. He is not to be trusted with a nation. And again, you know, we almost are begging people because the impact is more than the over 300 million people that live in the U.S. Canada's not the only country just impacted. You've got countries all across the world.
Absolutely.
That are impacted.
The world. Same China. I mean, if you care at all about how much you pay for a sweater, if you care at all about how your job is funneled to you, any of these things, America does matter to you. I know that many people are like, oh, well, I don't care. And it's like, well, you should. Because these are the following reasons why America affects your life daily. And the thing is that the rest of the world, the majority of the world, is very aware of how important this election is. And that's why people are watching it.
Yep.
Another thing, too, that I wanted to bring up that came to mind is what bothers me about Donald is that he's very out of touch. And it bothers me, a couple of things that he's said recently bothered me. The first thing was when he asked suburban women to love him and don't worry, you'll get your husbands back to work soon. And then he made fun of Kamala Harris, saying that she didn't even know how to say her own name. And she gets so offended when people say her name wrong. So I said, okay, those are two things that make you out of touch. First of all, we are no longer in 1945.
Hold on, Car. Let me get my poodle skirt and dust it off.
Yeah, okay. Women have been in the workforce since World War II. That's the first thing. Second thing, what's wrong with, again, a woman of color asking for respect and saying her name right? Why are you laughing about that? Why are you allowing your racism to show through so much? He is an out of touch, racist human being.
He is the adult.
and that's
it's
and that alone bothers me, because if he hasn't taken the time to learn that women have been in the workforce since World War II, when is he going to take a meeting with someone like you or you and say, or meet with a congressman that has, or a congresswoman that has a great idea? When is he going to do that? Because he doesn't want to learn anything new. He doesn't want new. He doesn't want modern. He wants America to be great again.
As in back when it was
pure. When I was sitting in a cage?
Yes.
And being sold for 5 cents American?
Yes. That's what he wants.
So for those who haven't watched that, please go back and watch Donald Trump basically say, and his appeal to suburban white women was to say, I am getting your husbands back to work. You need to vote for me to get your husbands, that your husbands want to go back to work, and I'm getting your husbands back to work. He also had, I want to know if it was a senator or a governor, it's either Carolina or Georgia, who came online, and he has been a senator for several years with Kamala Harris, and went and said, Kamala, la 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 la, or whatever her name is. These are the types of people that this man surrounds himself with. Yep. And so if you think that world leaders across the world who do not look like him actually want to sit with him and think that they're going to be taken seriously, you are wrong. And so the impact on the world is so vast. The impact on the world, because the world is watching.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
You don't think that there are leaders in African nations. First of all, and for people who think, there are many African nations that are very powerful. Lots of African nations are powerful. Right now, Akon is helping Gambia come up with their own cryptocurrency that's going to change the nation. Do you understand that? So people, please go do your research. So there are nations in Africa right now that are extremely powerful. Do you think that they necessarily want to take meetings with a man who won't even learn their name because it's too difficult, because he cannot even learn to pronounce Kamala? He calls her Kamala la la la?
Yeah, because again, the actions that he shows, the actions that people like that show, it's displaying that I have no respect for you because you don't belong here. Yep, that is what he's saying when he makes fun of her name.
That is exactly
he is saying that you are a woman, you are a woman of color, and you think you're smart. And I don't like those things. So I'm going to mispronounce your name on purpose and laugh about it.
Yeah. Show his racism.
That's a sign of disrespect.
And so if you think, leaders of nations, because again, the G7, look it up, it's on YouTube. They have the tape. Our Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, was there laughing with some other leaders about that this man was an idiot, like virtually. So the leaders of the world do not take, your nation is a fucking joke.
Yep.
Understand, like, your nation is a joke to the rest of the world. And so when the rest of the world is watching what is again supposed to be the most powerful superpower crumble in the last 4 years, putting him at the head again for another 4 years is doing a disservice to the nation. Your economy is going to continue going down the toilet because people will not want to do business with you. No. You are not a self-contained nation. You need other countries, and you have a leader who has literally isolated you from other countries who don't want to fuck with you. That's the reality.
He is like an abusive boyfriend. They want to separate you from your family, from your friends, from your colleagues. That's what he is. He's separating the states, and they're gonna be all by themselves. And if you know that when he wins this whole thing, if he wins this thing again, he'll work out some way he can be president for another 4 years.
Oh, that's gonna be the first thing on the
and
agenda.
Another 4 years. And before you know it, he's America's version of Putin.
And before
segregation will be next on the list. Let's be very clear.
Yeah.
If Donald Trump can make America great again, is simply saying let's make America white again. And let's be clear, if Donald Trump had his way, segregation and Jim Crow laws would be back in effect. So when I hear these powerful black men going up talking about I don't want to pay 62% taxes, you won't be having no money, 50 cents, because you'll be saying massa. Okay, in about 2 years, you'll be like, yes, massa, because you ain't got no money. He's gonna take away your 40 acres and a mule. But that's my 2 cents before our takeaway.
Well, I hope that 50 Cent. I hope that 50 Cent realizes that, because he's apparently that's the reason why he's voting for Mr. Trump.
So a takeaway is that actually. It was funny. Chelsea Handler had to yell at him through Twitter, and apparently now he has come out and said he was just joking.
It wasn't
but
a
anyways,
joke. No damn
That's
joke.
a joke that's not funny. But anyways, yes, let's talk about our takeaways. So my takeaway here is that more than ever, for all the years that I have spent, we've only lived for a short time, really, ladies, but for all the time that I've had on this earth, I now see the importance of everyone voting. If there is an election for the mayor, if there's an election for the governor, a senate, whatever, the governor for the chief of police,
anything,
make your vote known.
Mm-hmm.
It is important for us to be involved. And I'm talking to our community.
Yep.
I'm talking to Black people. I'm talking to Indigenous. I'm talking to people of color, Hispanic, whatever you identify as. I am talking to you. It is important for us to show up at every single opportunity to vote.
Girl,
that's it.
I agree with you. And, I'm going with what Kirsty said. And also, I'm taking a page also from what Barack Obama said. Our democracy is at stake. And the more you sit there saying, well, I don't know what to do, I'm undecided, you better open your eyes and think fast and vote accordingly. Because right now you have a man in charge who could give a rat's ass about you. And another 4 years of him, you might as well kiss your freedom goodbye, because he will bring back the Jim Crow law. He will destroy what's left of America. So do the right thing, exercise your right to vote, because if it wasn't so important, they wouldn't be on you so much to say, you don't have to, don't worry about it. Vote.
That part. So the world is watching, right? And the reality is, if you think America can't handle 4 more years, the world actually cannot handle 4 more years of Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm.
The world. This is beyond the American people. And like you just said, if Donald Trump wins again, expect Jim Crow laws to come back, because he will owe that to his supporters. His supporters want America to be white again. So all your Black people who are sitting back talking about, he ain't that bad, he's going to help the economy, you will have no money. Okay? Because they burnt down Tulsa. Whatever we try to rebuild, they'll try to burn that down too. So that's my 2 cents and my takeaway. And that is the end of everything. And next week we will be talking about the impact of the election. We hope for the best.
Y'all better vote. That's what We're hoping for the best.
We're going to hope for the best, but whatever it is, we're going to talk about the impact of the American election and what's next for the rest of us, depending on which party wins. So go out and vote, 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 and vote some.
We're praying for you, America.
We're praying hard. Praying hard. Jam, though.
Thank you so much to Shiva for joining us.
Yes, thank you, Shiva. Enjoy your lovely
Coast.
trip. Safe travels to you.
Or West Coast.
I will be home soon.
West Coast. It's funny. I think Instagram is actually going to kick us off.
Oh, this is
It's
it.
hilarious.
Instagram is going to keep us on.
We've never been off for so long. They're just keeping us on.
Oh, okay.
It's past 4 o'clock.
Okay.
Really? Wow, Instagram wants us to be great. Okay, so should we make our announcement then?
I guess we should make our
Do we have time?
Sure.
We should make
Let's
our
do it since we have the time and they're not cutting us off. Okay.
So,
Let's start it off.
Yeah, please, girl.
okay, so we are happy to announce that we have just secured a spot on a radio station in Toronto that syndicates on iHeartRadio. So the Not Your Typical Girl Talk crew
Hey.
have your own version of the Breakfast Club. So we will be putting out more information about that. We have just signed the paperwork. Clearly, because of COVID, we can't be in the studio right away. But we have gotten, it's called Radio Regent. For those of us in Toronto, they'll know about Regent. Look it up. But we have secured the Saturday 7 to 8 slot. And again, we are trying to basically create our own little version of the Breakfast Club. So listen, persistence and consistency is key. I believe you can do anything you put your mind to. And when we started this, we said we were going to do some great things, and COVID did not hold us down. And for those of you who have had our backs from the beginning and watched us, and like, thank you so much, but we're about to take over one day at a time. So I'm glad Instagram didn't cut us off so that we are able to make that announcement, because we are just so excited. We're looking to bring on guests. We want to really give people a voice, because they're giving us a voice, and we want to use our platform to give other people a voice, because it is our time, people. Take the opportunity. It is our time, and we cannot wait. We'll give more details, but we got a radio show, y'all!
We got a radio show!
So, I love
Not Your
Go ahead.
Girl Talk. Follow us on all social media platforms.
Yes, we are about to do this thing. Like, come on, Breakfast Club in Toronto. Like,
Come on,
we're
right?
about to get this.
You're the Breakfast Club of Toronto.
So thank you, Instagram, for letting us be great. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We appreciate you. There is more to come. You have not heard the best of us yet, because once we get on the radio, God help them. So, love you, ladies. I will see you next week.
Yes,
Namaste.
see you next week, Shiva.
Mwah.
Mwah. See you, girl. Bye, everybody. Bye.